Hey YouTube, this is Netta coming back with another video. And don't forget, you could be entered to win this 32-ounce capacity NutriBullet Select blender simply by liking and subscribing to my channel. NutriBullet Select blends coffees, smoothies, pretty much anything that you wish to blend. Alright, so we're going to start off with our smothered chicken recipe. We got our chicken cleaned and dried. We're going to use some Laurel seasoning salt. We also have some oat flour, chicken broth, or chicken stock, works in this recipe. We also have garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, chicken bouillon, all right, so here we are slicing our green pepper, okay? I'm just slicing them into rings, and then we're just going to set that aside. Okay, so now we're slicing our onions into rings as well. We're just going to slice them on up, and once we have those sliced, we're going to go ahead and set that aside also while we slice our potatoes. Aside. All right, so we got our little red potatoes. You can use really pretty much any potato. You know, those little golden potatoes are good for this recipe as well. I like the little red ones, so that's what I opted to do. I've done them with the golden potatoes before. It turned out just as good, but I just like the little small potatoes better. We're going to go ahead and get that sliced up. If you hear some noise in the background, there's some kids in the hallway of my apartment complex playing, making a bunch of noise, but all right, so we got our potatoes cut up nicely. I think we got one more to cut up there, a couple of more to cut up. This is our last potato. All right, now that we have all of our vegetables cut up, we're just going to set that aside while we'll prepare our chicken. We season our chicken. Okay, so here we have our chicken. And I'm adding some onion powder and garlic powder. I'm also going to add some seasoned salt and pepper. There's our pepper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and rub the chicken into the seasonings, or the seasoning into the chicken. Got my gloves there. I like to use gloves when dealing with meat, but not only because, of the contaminants, but also stuff like seasoning and stuff like that. I don't like the way it feels on my hand. I don't like that feeling. So I always use gloves. Anything that kind of feel icky on my hands, I prefer to use gloves when cooking. Added some more seasoning salt. Then I'm going to add some pepper. One ingredient that I forgot to put on right away, which is, fine. Luckily, I've caught it in time, was the thyme. I normally would put that on top of the chicken as well once I lay it out on the bed. But I had stuck it in the oven before I had actually put the thyme on it. But luckily, it was only like 5 minutes into cooking. And I remembered, and then I just went ahead and added some to the top of the chicken. All right, so we got our green onions. We're laying them out on the bed, or our green peppers, rather. And then also we're going to put the onions on the bed as well, about half and half. You're going to use half for the bed and then half for the top of the chicken. All right, and then we got our potatoes. I'm going to put some of those on the bed as well. I just turn them up on the red side because that's, my preference to have them on that side. I have a hard time cooking without music. I know YouTube is kind of funny about music, but I have a hard time cooking without music. It feels awkward to me. Since for the purposes of this video, I guess I got to do what I got to do. Okay, so now we're laying our chicken on the bed. And then once the chicken is laid out on the bed, I'm going to add some butter to each piece on the top for the browning. So to, get that nice golden brown to it when it's cooking. Now this is the point where I should have added the thyme seasoning on top. But again, I was able to catch it before it really started cooking to add the thyme. But here I'm adding some more green onion and or green pepper and onion on top. Now I'm going to make the slurry, which is like the gravy of the smothered chicken. And I use chicken broth. You can use chicken stock too. Normally I do use chicken stock, but quiet as it kept, I picked up the wrong thing. So I'm using chicken broth instead of chicken stock. But it's going to come out just as good. And then also I have some oat flour, which is my preference to use. It has the same consistency as regular flour, but it's a lot more healthy. But you can use regular flour, Any flour works, really, honestly. Coconut flour, almond flour, any of that will work as well. All right, so I had added a little bit of minced garlic. And I'm going to add some of the chicken bouillon. I'm using Better Than bouillon, but you can use bouillon cubes as well. Or bouillon powder. Any of those will work. So I'm giving it a nice stir. Make sure everything is mixed well together. Now we're going to bring our chicken back on the scene. I'm adding the butter to the top now. I'm I'm just putting a, nice little sized chunk on each piece of, the skin. All right, so now I got everything, all the butter on top of each piece. We're gonna go ahead and use our gravy, and we're gonna pour the gravy at the bottom, trying to be careful not to pour it over the top of the chicken. So we're gonna kind of use the little gaps and kind of pour it in. Oops, I think I made a little mistake there, but yeah, kind of pour it in the gaps. Be careful not to get it on top of the chicken. And to me, the thyme seasoning, I think every recipe is some seasoning or something that makes it really special. And with this recipe, I think the thyme seasoning makes it special. The flavor of the thyme really makes it, outstanding. All right, and then I think I added a little more seasoning salt and a little more black pepper to the top. Now we're going to go ahead and stick it in the oven on about 375 for about an hour to an hour and a half. Okay, so here's our end result, smothered chicken. Looks pretty good. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe again to be entered for a chance to win the NutriBullet Select. Bye-bye.